Let me first start with a very interesting experience I had yesterday evening during this very nice welcoming event, reception. I was talking to people and discussing, as we all do, about what we are doing and so on and so forth. I was explaining what the European Investment Bank is. And it was very striking to see that nobody knew about the European Investment Bank, up to a point where someone told me, oh, you are then a subsidiary of the EBRD. Oh, wow, okay, we have a situation there. So it was very enlightening, in fact, a very nice experience, because then I was thinking to myself, how come my institution, being the world's largest multilateral financial institution, and being twice as big as the World Bank, how come we are so unknown? And how come that we are lending $1 billion a year for the last 3 years to Ukraine? And how come we are not totally unknown? This is very interesting, and I was thinking about that for the whole evening, and I came up with a conclusion that is very simple. We have been lending mostly to the public sector. We have been lending to the government and also the sub-sovereign governments. About 60% of our loans are with the public sector, mostly in transport, energy, energy efficiency. And this is not visible. This is not necessarily what people can feel and see. Even though it's a necessary investment, I don't have to make the demonstration that public investments are the backbone of economic development. But still, it's not very sexy, it's not very visible. The other 40% of our portfolio is in supporting what we call the small and medium enterprises. But we don't do it directly, we do it through intermediaries, banks mostly. That represent, for example, last year we signed a 400 million loan with the government on lend to local banks to target the agriculture sector, agricultural SMEs. That's very nice, but it's invisible as well. But there is still the third leg of our activity that is completely missing. In fact, what we want to do is to target the private sector, but not the SMEs. Now I'm talking about mid to large cap business. These big employers, these big companies who are struggling not to disinvest because borrowing is extremely expensive. So nowadays the private sector companies, the large ones, are simply stopping investing into their capex. So the adverse effect is that they are de facto disinvesting, and this is dramatic for the future. So this is what we want, this sector, these targets, we really want to work with these companies in order to support them and to become, symbolically visible and to show to the entire community, international community, that yes, there is business to do in Ukraine. We can support the big players, we can support the champions. Not only, and of course, this is the first target, the agribusiness sector, because it's export-oriented and there is a flow of revenues that is very interesting for as a banker. But I think this is not only, Ukraine is not only agribusiness. Ukraine, and I heard that this morning, is also avionics, it's also IT, it may be also biotechs. Why not? So we are here to develop this part of the activity and to become more visible, and in order to encourage the other bankers, the other financial institutions to increase their involvement here. This is our role. In fact, this is our objective, to be here when no one wants to be here. Everybody, when I talk about Ukraine to our equivalents, they all say, oh, Ukraine is too complicated, the situation is terrible. But again, when it comes to private sector, we believe that there is something to do. There are businesses. There is a support to be given to local businesses. Of course, our experience is that nothing is that rosy. We heard about reforms this morning. This is fine and nice, but this is not the entire truth. The truth is that there are reforms, but it's not enough, of course. And also, there is a problem of capacity. When we have a portfolio of 4.3 billion euros with Ukraine, and that a significant, if not the vast majority of our portfolio is not disbursing, it means that there is a problem. In fact, the public sector is not implementing the money. We have huge sums of money sitting here without without any activity. So what's happening? I think this is also a very critical element. Reform of the administration, but pragmatic one is extremely urgent. And then we would see some development. I'm more confident with the private sector, with private corporates, because when a corporate is borrowing, it's so expensive that they want to spend it immediately and to get a return immediately. But again, as an image, you can produce as much grain as you want. If you cannot transport it to the next port, then you are doomed. So both things are necessary. So this is how I see our intervention in Ukraine.